Tony Wolff devoted 44 years of his life to powering the country, but that doesn't mean he's a fan of coal.
When I first started as a 15-year-old electrician, we didn't know the damage that coal was doing. We didn't understand the damage to the environment.
Having worked at most of the Latrobe Valley's power stations in Victoria's Gippsland region, he's witnessed a lot of change. And he was disappointed when the coalition unveiled its plan to build a nuclear reactor in his backyard.
If it had have happened 30 years ago, it might have ended up being part of our mix. I think we're too late. We're too far behind. It's way too expensive. It's way more expensive than renewables.
Opposition leader Peter Dutton has pledged to build 7 nuclear reactors across Australia if the coalition wins the upcoming federal election, including one in the Latrobe Valley.
Our policy is to make sure that we can underpin our economy with a stable energy market for the next 100 years.
This proposal is at odds with the Labor government's plan to have an electricity grid almost entirely powered by renewables by 2050.
So we want renewables backed by gas, backed by batteries, backed by hydro.
Gippsland has long been the centre point of energy debate, and that continues at this election. The two parties are offering a different choice. For locals, it means deciding on what their future looks like. What do you think about the plan to build a nuclear reactor in the valley?
I'm not against it. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think a lot of European nations have done it successfully, so why are we any smarter than them?
I think it's a terrible idea. I don't think it'll work. There isn't enough water to supply it in any case.
I don't really like it, I'll be honest. I think we're doing a great job working on renewables already.
But for many other locals, the prospect of more jobs in the Latrobe Valley is too good to turn down.
And they just need to bring more jobs, more opportunities and more business into the local shopping centres. They're empty.
They've shut down all the power stations, or shutting down all the power stations. So we need to fill that void somehow.
Nuclear is not ideal, but it's better than... For the valley, it's good because it's going to give more jobs to the valley, and that's what we need.
A community divided in this game of political power. William Howard, ABC News, Gippsland.
Well, to make sense of these issues, we're speaking now with Tony Wood, the Energy and Climate Change Program Director at the Grattan Institute. Tony, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome, thank you.
The main thing people are feeling right now is, of course, power prices when it comes to their bills. Away from short-term rebates and things like that, what should we be doing long-term?
The sugar hits we're getting now are really about short-term gain, but no long-term gain. For example, things which would improve the way we use electricity in our homes. And I think the example that the government's announced in terms of providing support for in-house batteries is one of the things we can do.
The Labor Party is making this an election between renewables and nuclear power. I believe they want about 83% of the grid renewable in 5 years' time. Apart from the battery aspect, what else is on the agenda?
Well, the current government made that commitment back in 2022. We're not on track to achieve that 82% by 2030. We've made enormous progress in this country. We've gone from 10% of our electricity coming from renewables back in 2010 to more than 40% now. But to go from 40% now to 82% in only 5 years is a hell of a challenge. We shouldn't be claiming that to be a failure. It's a success on the way. So what we've now got to do is continue that work, and it means in particular some of the hard things, like putting more renewable energy in the regions, connecting with transmission lines, which are not the most attractive things you've ever seen. They're the sort of things that we have to do more of and get on top of that, because at the same time that's happening, the ageing coal-fired power stations are becoming less reliable. So we've got to get that balance right.
Away from fears and emotions, on the economics and the practicalities, how realistic is nuclear?
Well, the proposal would be to slow down renewables, keep the coal running longer, and also use more gas until nuclear arrives. Now, the problem with that is that keeping the coal-fired power stations going longer, these are getting older, and secondly, we know that building big kit on the ground, on budget, on time, is not happening anywhere in the world. So I think there are some real risks with this proposal. I don't think we should rule out nuclear maybe in 10 or 20 years' time, that does not affect what we need today, and it certainly doesn't have any impact on the cost of living today.
But if you had to choose one way or the other, which would you be going down? Which route?
I'd have both. There you go. Now, I think what we need to do, we've got a plan A. We should continue with plan A, which is mostly renewables, probably backed up with gas, a lot more transmission. But as we get through that, as we get to 80 and 90% renewables, we've closed down all the coal. The last steps become more difficult.
Long term, the major parties are in agreement in terms of hitting net zero emissions by the year 2050. What more should we be doing right now to hit that target even sooner? Because that's what the Greens and Independents are generally asking for, braver, bolder targets.
So the question is more about who's got the biggest target, but who's got the policies that would achieve those targets. And so at the moment, we are not making the progress we need to make. More importantly, so much of this discussion has been about electricity, and that's important, very important. But what about other sectors? Heavy industry, transport, agriculture. If all of those sectors do not also reduce their emissions, then net zero doesn't happen.
Tony Wood from the Grattan Institute, thank you.
Thank you.